also this on the second half of this season, you've got 2 episodes that are kind of oriented around the more hardcore branch of our sport.
Right?
I'm still not ever gonna let you get away with that bank addicted drug robber last season. But anyway,
did you ever watch it? You still haven't seen it, right?
Oh, but no? I will watch these because
I still think you should. But go on.
Onita and FMW and the story of him and his promotion. It is, for lack of a better term, it's another one of those unique stories in wrestling because he basically, for the Japanese audience, that he was at one point going to be a big time junior heavyweight star for Baba, and his knees got blown out, and he was on the periphery of the business. And then he completely reinvented himself as this crazy, charismatic lunatic because he could talk and he could work people mentally.
Yeah.
His work by that point physically was but he could work people mentally.
Oh my God. Incredible babyface.
So anyway, you've got Onita and FMW, and then the promotion that tried to top even that lunacy over here on this side of the world, Porn Meets Wrestling, Rob Black and XPW. And I can't wait to see that one because where else do you get to recreate some guy getting his thumb cut off?
Oh God.
So we got 2 more hardcore offerings later on in the season for people who are into those things.
Yeah, the FMW story for me is a personal one I was just like, during quarantine last year, I kind of devoted that time to the FMW catalog. I was like, I've seen so many clips online over the years and seen so many, of the exploding rings and the electrified pool matches, where the wrestlers are, I'm sure you love it, where wrestlers are taking little boats out to the ring and throwing each other in it and exploding and whatnot at the harbor. And
see, I didn't mind it when it was all in Japan. I figured, nobody will ever do that stupid shit over here. So it was funny at that point.
Well, to me, I was just like, what is this? I need to see this, and especially like, not to be pretentious or anything, but just as a filmmaker too, I really think FMW is maybe some of the more interesting photographed, the photography of just the matches themselves. But obviously the photographs from the Japanese magazines are jaw dropping. Some of the best crazy isolated photographs of wrestling you'll ever see. But to me, it's like, okay, I got to find out what's going on with this. And so I really went through, there's a guy out there named Brett, who's kind of the foremost authority on FMW out there on social media, and he has a top 100 FMW matches list. And I decided I'm doing it. I didn't get all the way through 100, but I went through maybe the top 30. And man,
I was about to say you didn't start at number 100 and work your way up. You started at the top and worked your way down, right?
Yeah, come on. Yeah. And it was amazing just to see it all and be like, I don't care. There's got to be a story here. We'll find it. I just want to put this footage on TV today. I just want people to rediscover this because it's wild looking and it's crazy. And Onita, especially too, which really impressed the hell out of me too, is just seeing at the end of every match, he's so over that he starts, he wins the match, whatever it is. He starts crying. He's pouring water over his head and takes the microphone and tells everybody that, FMW will live forever. And, and it's everyone cries at the end of these matches. And it becomes this somber, bizarre, emotional trip at the end of these brutal, hardcore matches. And there's something poetic even in that I just really was like, this is amazing. This is actually incredible. So I was like, all right, this has got to be on TV. I don't care. And then when we started looking into the story and started really diving into it, it was like, whoa, there is a real story here. So our episode really tracks the kind of rise of Onita, like you were saying, from, a Giant Baba hopeful to the injury to being sent to America and kind of getting under the wing of Terry Funk. And I think it's going to put a smile on everyone's face to see, Terry Funk in this episode. It was one of my favorite interviews we've ever done for the show, and he was hilarious. And Terry's Terry in the episode for sure. Yeah. And and it's interesting because then it's around that time, he kind of shepherds him and tosses him over to Memphis, and that's where the infamous Tupelo concession stand brawl takes place, and that's where really Onita gets exposed to this idea of something that is hardcore and blood. And of course, he's a fan of Terry's and the other matches that he's seen of Terry's over the years. But to him, it's like kind of interesting how you can chart that moment as being such a pivotal moment in the evolution of what we know is like a more hardcore style.
Yeah, well, we've talked about that here on the show in the past, and I've done a few articles about it because basically that was in a roundabout way what they did in Tupelo at the old sports arena that night was the inadvertent birth of hardcore wrestling. And actually it was something that had already been done twice before in Memphis in the territory. And it was the least drawing, the least important of the three of them because it was the third time. So for the people in Memphis, we saw that. Lawler and Dundee and Ferris and Latham, the Blonde Bombers, they did it. That tripled the houses. This, it was a great piece of TV. But Onita had that in the back of his mind and said, okay, I can't do this other stuff anymore, but I could do that and I can still talk. And here we go.
Yeah. I mean, and so that to us is kind of cool to track that history there. And then, of course, he builds this empire in FMW, but after his injury, he decides like, what am I going to do? How am I going to gain attention? And Onita just has one of those personalities, where he's going to rise to the top, become the center of attention. And he decides to pull these stunts where he's challenging legitimate karate masters, to a hybrid style wrestling karate type match. And that's what the real genesis of FMW is, which is Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling. That's the name of the organization. And so you saw these like handful of starting events where if you've ever seen them, they are absolutely, they are predetermined, but if you've ever seen them, they're absolutely friggin' brutal with these guys kicking each other in the face, full on for real. And they're bloody and they're insane of him, wrestler versus karate master. It got over and it drew. And then that was kind of slowly morphed into the promotion. And then, of course, Onita just takes it to a level of absurdity with, like I said, the exploding rings, the electrified barbed wire, the pool.
The piranha. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. And just.
Why didn't they ever do quicksand? They should have done quicksand.
I would have loved it. It's just, it really worked for them. And of course, like, they're drawing giant stadium sized, crowds. And yeah, so for me, it was just, but I didn't even really touch on this, but the fact that the story with the rise of Onita and the downfall of the organization in how after Onita's kind of exiled from the organization, he actually shortly before that, gives the reins to the company over to the ring announcer. The ring announcer is the guy who, his name is Shoichi Arai, and he actually ran the company, towards the end of it. And then you realize that he was kind of handed this failing company in a way, and sort of debts were becoming all consuming for him. And then, of course, in a heartbreaking way, Hayabusa, who became kind of the heir apparent to Onita, he gets paralyzed in the ring in one of the most horrifying in-ring accidents I've ever seen. And so they don't have their star anymore, and then the organization really crumbles, and he succumbs to the debt, and all these loan sharks are coming in and encroaching and asking for the money, and he sees no way out but to unfortunately take his own life. And so that is, so there's a real dramatic story there, and especially with the world of organized crime, that sort of underbelly and how that's attached to, a lot of the culture of wrestling in Japan. And so it's a really interesting, fascinating story. And of course, Onita, is a captivating interview.
And has now resurrected this promotion that meant so much to so many people's lives, as you just recounted, and is running exploding ring shows at a fruit and vegetable market. Which I always thought, I want to get my fresh produce and watch a guy burn to a crisp in the middle of the ring. But